Welcome to Bright Minds. I am the Seeker. I seek the truth about reality. In the last video I discussed knowledge and true beliefs, objective reality, and perceived reality. In this video, I'll attempt discussing justification. Philosophers have a lot to say about justification, so I'll just share my understanding, and I'll leave links in the description for further reading. So, how can we know that our perceived reality matches objective reality? How can we be justified? When we say justification, one might think of moral justification, as in, was Stephanie justified in refusing to answer Steve's question? That's being justified in doing something. The justification we are discussing is being justified in believing something. In other words, how can we be justified in believing that what we believe is true? How can we know what's out there in objective reality outside of our minds? In my opinion, almost nothing about reality can be known with absolute certainty. All we have is different probabilities of knowing, and the better our justification is, the higher certainty we have that something we believe about objective reality is true, and thus constitutes knowledge. So, what are the different sources of justification or knowledge? I'll mention 3 sources of justification I believe are important. 2 of them are more basic. I won't go into the details of why or how those sources provide justification. We can leave that for future videos. The first basic source of justification is perception, with the senses. Seeing something, hearing something, smelling something, and so on. This source of justification usually gives high certainty that what you perceive is true. When you clearly see a red apple, there is little doubt in your mind that what you see is a red apple. The second basic source of justification is testimony, or the word of others. This source of justification gives less certainty than perception with the senses. If someone told you that there is an apple in a box, you can accept their word for it, but you won't be as certain of the existence of the apple as if you opened the box and saw the apple for yourself. In other words, if someone told you that there is an apple in a box and you opened the box and saw an orange, you tend to believe what you see over the word of someone. That's why perception can be said to give higher certainty than testimony. The third source of justification is rational conclusion. This one is less basic, and its certainty is affected by the sources of input it is based on. Let's say you went outside, and you saw that it was cloudy, and everything was wet. You can conclude that it must have rained. You can be said to have high certainty that it has rained based on what you perceive yourself. Now, let's say you haven't looked outside, but instead, someone told you that they saw that it was cloudy and that everything outside was wet. You conclude that it must have rained. However, your certainty of the fact that it has rained is lower in this case, since it's based on the word of someone rather than your own perception. Without going into too many details, how can we justify the claim that perception gives higher certainty than testimony? As I explained in the examples earlier, in normal circumstances, if a conflict happens between your perception and the word of someone, you will usually believe your perception over the word of someone. But is that all? Actually, I have a bit more to say about this. As I've explained in the previous video, we perceive objective reality through our senses, and we build our presentation of it in our minds, that I call perceived reality. We are not in direct touch with the external world. Objective reality is not directly present to our minds. Let's take vision as an example. When you look at an apple, what actually happens is that light reflects off the apple, enters your eyes, and hits your retinas. Light-sensitive cells in your retinas generate an electrochemical current, or a neurosignal that goes to the vision areas of your brain. The brain deciphers the sense data that it receives and recognizes the shape and color of what you are looking at, Then you recognize that what you are looking at matches something stored in your memory, which is an apple, and you finally believe you see an apple in the external world. This process or sense experience happens extremely fast that we don't notice it. However, any error happening anywhere in this process can lead to a different sense experience, which could generate a different belief in your mind. I call those steps in the sense experience process filters. The more filters data has to go through, the more chance for error and the less certainty you have that the belief generated is true. When you see the apple for yourself, the objective reality data that your brain receives goes only through your filters. On the other hand, when you receive data about the external world through the word of someone, the data goes through their filters first, generate a belief in their mind, and then they would transmit that belief to you as data that will go through your filters before generating a belief in your mind. The more people you add to the chain of people transmitting some fact about objective reality, the more filters the data has to go through until it reaches you, giving more chance for error and thus less certainty. I didn't even go into the cognitive biases, memory errors, and the chance of deliberate deception that accompanies transmitted words. However, the word of others is practically a claim, and claims need justification. I'm not saying that you should go around doubting everything that is told to you. In trivial matters, like asking a stranger for directions, you are justified in taking their word for it and following their directions. However, in serious or controversial matters, taking someone's word alone is not a good idea. There is still so much to be said about this topic, but I'll leave that for future videos. Thank you for watching. If you have anything you'd like to say, please leave a comment. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and share and to subscribe to my channel. You can click the bell button too to know about my videos as soon as they are out. Until we meet in the next video, be safe and stay curious.